This is the Newsload.
That's how I want to say it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carrie Anne Stevenson, and I am so excited to be able to interview the wonderful, the talented Christopher Runciman. Hello, Christopher. How are you today?
Oh, I'm fine.
You're looking svelte. You've been
Oh,
working out?
yes. No, I write and draw books. No, I don't work out.
But maybe
I
it's
was,
the black, it's slimming.
maybe that's it. But yeah, I used to be a lot bigger, broader guy, and I'm getting older.
Yeah. But I'm liking the baby curls. You look, like you're keeping the curls.
That I cannot help. If there's any amount of length of hair, it curls. So that's why I got to keep the whiskers trimmed because they do it too. And yeah.
Oh my gosh, a mustache digging into your nose, that would irritate me so much.
No, it's more like the Errol Flynn type up the sides.
Yep.
Very hip.
So, I hear that you are a comic book designer, author, producer.
Yep.
What got you into that?
Well, so this is something that I've always enjoyed. And my background, it's always been an interest to me, but my background's in fine art. And so I shown in my paintings and drawings in galleries for years. And after a while, it sort of runs its course. And, for some, at least for me. And so these large drawings, 8 feet by 16 feet, whatever, and paintings the same size it's sort of it's so consuming. And I had kids, and so I could only do stuff at night. And it just became more and more challenging over time. So while I was doing these things, though, in portraits and things like that, I would always have these mental health moments where I would scribble down stories with words and pictures. And so at a certain point, I just decided, let's do this. And it's largely because my wife found when we moved my studios together. I had a studio downtown, a studio at home. And when we collapsed everything in the studio at home, she found three finished books in a drawer. And, what am I doing with these? Nothing. Oh, okay, we have to fix that. So we started publishing. And that led to us doing a comic company called RP Comics. And we have, as of date, we've published 76 things through that and 76 books through that. And I'm now on my 31st amongst those. So it's just something that I've always done on the, as a course of interest. But things like that painting in the corner, that sort of classical style of painting is sort of my background. So I tend to I really enjoy this working process now, but I've opened it up a little bit as well. So
That's
that
exciting. Yeah, I believe you had an entire book made completely with a ballpoint pen, which was
yep.
an interesting style and look, and it added a bit of depth and a bit of character to the book that I really enjoyed.
Oh, thank you very much. That's so I'm really multidisciplinary. I work with pretty much any mark making tools I can get my hands on. And so I'm currently so the concept of largely what I'm working on right now, aside from doing full books, every day I do a one-page story from suggestions, random suggestions that people make. And every day I decide whatever I'm going to do today's page in. And there's no specific, I start this way and work that way. Like some days I'll draw in ballpoint pen, other days I'll draw just in pencil crayon, just in marker, just in paint marker, colored pens, penciled line art, colored pencil line art. There's just so many different tools that we can use. And and then I mix them all together a lot. I work in mixed media. I work on mixed media surfaces, so paper that's not even just a simple white color. Um, and uh, and I try a different thing every day. And so I appreciate that about the ballpoint book. Because I really enjoy ballpoint, but I also really enjoy all these other things. So having the ability to use whatever each day um, keeps me from feeling stagnant.
Very cool. Very cool. And how do you stay focused? Obviously, the different, styles keeps you motivated. How do you, like get obviously 31 books is a lot of time and effort. And, with a family, how do you stay focused?
Well, I've got a couple of things that work in my favor. One is my kids are all grown up and moved out now, and so that affords me a little bit more time. And two is discipline is something that you really improve over time. When you start, tend to people start as young creators, there's lots of distractions and there's lots of things that they want to move off and do and have some fun. And I'm no different than anyone else, but for me, I have a routine. I have a setup studio ready to go. I have the affordance of the ability to try a great deal of things, and there's something about um, the Robert Greene writes about the highly creative mind and how highly creative people have the affinity to just sort of tap into a creative flow really easily. And and it's a combination between listening to their innermost thoughts, like the childish whimsy, and at the same time having the discipline to sit down and do so. And so that allows you to have a large output. So while I'm working on a page a day, um, I'm still illustrating full books as well, and still working with clients as well. And it has an awful lot to do with the ability to sit down in a chair and stay there, and work towards those things.
How did you design, like develop your drawing style?
Time. That we have a great deal of influences and interests in our lives, and we tend to gravitate towards like. But with that, if we have the ability to sit down and to try to understand what it is that we like and what it is that we have an affinity for, that uh, deconstruction and then comprehension that you build up from that sort of informs you of a lot of foundational things that you can then build upon in your own way. And then there's that sort of statement about every artist kind of draws their face into everybody's faces a little bit, and stuff like that. But it just comes over time, and I've been drawing for almost 35 years,
Wow.
out in the world. So yeah,
And where did you develop your writing style?
same thing, the exact same way. It's just trial and error. A great problem that writers and artists have is that there's reticence always. There's the way of saying to ourselves, I want to write, just write. I want to draw, just draw.
Yeah, just
It's the
put
same as I want
something
to
down.
perform on an open.
Yeah,
Exactly. I want, even that it's the same, it's a performance anxiety thing. It affects, stand-up comedians where I want to stand on stage and tell people jokes. Do that, right? Just try it. And if you make a mistake or if it's wrong, the next time you'll know better from
yeah.
what you experience. Any process of creative outlet is the same. It's just the active participation and execution of it.
Do you
So
have a favorite comic book?
I have a sort of strange relationship with a lot of books. I tend to have favorite ones today, favorite ones tomorrow, favorite ones last week, and favorite ones next week. But a sort of staple, there's a few different staples that stay with me. One is Violent Cases by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean, and it's about a reminiscence of when he was a kid and he dislocated his shoulder, which is a strange book to look at in sort of, well, it's kind of a dark subject, but it's very well done and illustrated by Dave McKean. I also really like Dave McKean's tome. It's a very thick book called Cages, and it's about the little boxes that we build around our own lives. So those sort of stay with me, but and they're not of the norm. They're not of the main track. They're not of superhero ilk. Like I've grown up enjoying superhero books too and things like that. But at this point, I don't really draw superheroes. I tend to draw spice of life and often with a comedic bent or whatever suggestions I get. And people will say, "How about doing a comic page based on conspiracy that chickens control the world?" Well, today I'm drawing chickens. So when it comes to favorite things, there are so many influences that we can have. There's no right and wrong answer in it. But a favorite one, there's so much joy and creativity that I have a hard time locking that down, really.
Cool, 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 cool. Do you find a difference between old school comics back in the day and comics now?
Definitely. Absolutely. It seems to be, now this is going to be contra and contrarian for some people, but it seems to be that a lot of the older books were less about the flavor and more about the storytelling. And then around the 90s is where we really got into this comics that are more concerned about flashy and the storytelling, went back a little ways. Nowadays, you got fantastic fusions of both coming together. Many titles that unfortunate affectation of the flashy part being more important. But I think it's disingenuous to say it's that people aren't, still fantastic storytellers, because there's many of them out there that are. But it's a different tone. There's a different tonality to a sort of performative. This is how we have to.
Have been to a few Comic Cons, I assume. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you met or run into a celebrity that has left you starstruck?
Um, yes and no. I tend to look at celebrities and think they're just people. And the thing about the story is that you tend to look at people just as character, and you tend to really try to define and understand what it is about that individual that makes them them. And it's a terrible trait to have because that switch is kind of always turned on. Um, so there's a great deal of celebrity that you meet and you go, yeah, you really enjoy yourself. At the same time, there's celebrities where you go, I really enjoy your humility, and I really enjoy the fact that your output is it's byproduct of who you are, but it's the work. And so there's some great people that I've met over time. I found that Jim Shooter was fantastic. Yeah, he's such a generous person, and he was a former head of Marvel Comics. He started Defiant, started Valiant. Real is partially responsible for the introduction of the direct market. So we have comic stores. Like he's made his mark, and he started writing comics at 14. So he was for a guy who's as accomplished, so down to earth and so generous. And he wrote the review for my first hardcover that's on Amazon. And I'll always appreciate that. I just couldn't believe that he accepted it. And this year I had the chance to a number of fantastic people. Bill Plimpton, the animator, really great guy, really talented guy. Kind of works on whatever he feels like working at the time, like me. Ben Bishop, a young creator who's working on The Last Ronin. Really humble for somebody who's very popular right now. And Kevin Eastman, the guy who created the Turtles, the Ninja Turtles, the co-creator with Peter Laird. Kevin Eastman's just a salt of the earth guy for a person who's got an empire beneath him. So it's meet genuine creators out there in the field, and meet other people that are celebrity rock stars, and I tend to look for the people.
That's really wonderful. Do you enjoy the difference between the story in the comic book and the story created in the film based on the comic book?
I do. Alan Moore, who wrote Watchmen, he wrote V for Vendetta, right? He wrote all of the ABC books were Alan Moore books. Swamp Thing, Hellraiser. He's a very accomplished writer. And people would often ask him what his thoughts were on movies. And he said a really interesting thing. And if you get a chance to listen to Alan Moore, please do, because he has a very deep voice. He's my size because I'm a tall person. And he's from Northampton, so he has a very interesting dialect. But he says that the adaptation made as soon as it's being drawn by the artist is already different than the movie that was in my head. And so when people say, "What do you think about this adaptation of your work?" He says, that's not my work. My work is in my head. It's the stuff I wrote down on page. And so there's already, by working with an artist, that artist has already adapted it and included their personal vision. So when you get step removed and step removed, it matters less and less. And I've always thought that was interesting. So I think it should allow people to watch a film and just go, I enjoy this for what this is, and for good or bad, as opposed to they did this wrong because it wasn't in a book.
Yeah, yeah, I do notice that. Like, I hate to compare books like different books. Like my book experience of Jurassic Park, for instance, they had two Tyrannosaurus Rex in
Mhm.
the book, and like different endings. John Hammond was killed right away, and he
Wow.
survived in the original movie. Spoiler alert.
For a film that's this many years old and a book that's older. Well, that a key component of the novel was all about um, the chaotic mathematics and the theorems that are presented therein, and that's a recurring element in that book. And you have to really downturn it because uh, downturn its importance because you want the general masses to appreciate the whole of the product, and that's a little dense for a lot of people. And so if you can just turn it down to hunky Jeff Goldblum, yeah, here a glass of water, ooh, uh, that makes more ticket sales. That's big dinosaurs are far more impactful. So I
For
can,
sure.
that's a challenge though, but you're going to see that with everything, even adaptations, contemporary adaptations of things. The Westworld television series that came out in the last so many years, which is also Michael Crichton, the author, um, is substantially different than the 1970s ones with Yul Brynner. So,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
interesting how that works.
You are teaching classes. Is there anything coming up in the next month or so?
So, yeah, I've got a number of things that I'm going to be doing in a number of different places. But one of the things that I do on a regular basis is I live stream while I'm working on these pages. Because a lot of all these pages, the suggested ideas come from other people, come from people on social media or people that I meet at conventions or people that just walk up to me, that I know and go, here's an idea. Furiously write it down because I'm not going to retain it. Um, and so I do the live streams and I walk people through the process. And while I'm walking people through my creative process and creating them, I'm also telling them about a lot of the information that I've picked up over time about different art tricks or media, like specific medium tricks that whatever I'm using that day, or how to structure a story, how to evaluate your creative process. I talk about that a lot so that it helps people get over the reservations they might have for actually just doing something. Talk about the fusion between words and pictures and how they make a brand new third element of those two things fused together. So yeah, so I'm always, and that's on YouTube. And
And
then
where do we find that? What is the channel?
I think it's Christopher Runciman 865 is my channel, and it's my name. It's as easy as that. It's my name. So yeah, and constantly live streaming, or I'll show time lapse videos or things like that. It's part of who I am that I want to encourage others to find an outlet, a means of
Wonderful.
creative communication. So
Well, Chris, I could talk to you all day, and if you don't mind, I'd hope to be able to call you back on Facebook Messenger and have another chat. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you can do one more thing before we go, if you can say it loud, say it proud. I love Newsload.
I love Newsload.
This is the Newsload.